Addictive Behaviors. By Jose A. Santos, facilitator of the topic Effective Resilience. The history of addictions is linked to the history of man. Smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, chewing coca leaves, using psychoactive preparations, drinking potions, smoking marijuana, using opium for pain, etc., are well-known examples of some of the substances that man has used throughout history. History or continues to use. More currently, together with the previous ones and their industrial or chemical derivatives, the new addictions stand out. Some are derived from substances such as heroin, cocaine, designer drugs, LSD, fentanyl, among the most important, and others are behavioral addictions, without substance, as a result of our technological society, such as addiction to the internet, gambling, mobile phones, erotic phones, sex, shopping, and a wide etc. of behaviors that can become addictive. For this reason, in recent years different behaviors have been included under the generic denomination of addictions or addictive behaviors. Initially based on the concept of dependency, physical and mental, and evolving from it, they were initially applied to psychoactive substances that, ingested by an individual, had the potential to produce dependency. With the passing of the years, it was observed that there were also behaviors that, without any substance involved, had the capacity to produce dependency and the rest of the characteristics that dependencies had on psychoactive substances. What are addictive behaviors? The term addiction derives from the Latin word addicere, to condemn. An addict is condemned to be a slave to the demands of his dependency. According to the WHO, addictions are behaviors that lead to actions contrary to the will of the person, which implies characteristic physical and psychological symptoms. We observe that addictive behavior presents that behavior that causes the imperative need to be repeated, despite the evident mental and physical damage that it generates both personally and on third parties. Gossip, 1989, defined as characteristic elements of an addiction. 1. A strong desire or a feeling of compulsion to perform the particular conduct, especially when the opportunity to perform such conduct is not available. 2. The impaired ability to control the behavior, especially in terms of controlling its onset, maintenance, or level at which it occurs. 3. Discomfort and altered mood when the behavior is prevented or stopped. Why? 4. Persisting in the behavior despite clear evidence that it is producing serious consequences for the individual. Some of the addictive behaviors that we can find are alcohol, nicotine, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, etc. Games of chance. Food or edible components such as chocolate, coffee, or fat. Sex or sexual activity. Works. Internet. Interpersonal relationships, etc. It is considered necessary to clarify the terms of use, abuse, and dependency, since they are often used interchangeably. Use, when the consumption or conduct carried out by the person does not cause negative consequences. Abuse, when the person, despite the negative consequences of consumption or behavior, continues to do so. Dependence, when carrying out addictive behaviors with negative consequences is carried out over a long period of time. In the global village there are 1,100 million smokers out of the 7 billion people who inhabit the planet. If the current consumption trend persists, it is estimated that 500 million people will die from smoking. A WHO report, 1997, maintains that by 2024 smoking will be the main cause of death, and will have extinguished 146 million lives. This figure exceeds the total number of deaths caused by AIDS, traffic accidents, and tuberculosis. Another very common form of dependency is alcoholism. In Western countries, between 80 and 90% of the adult population drinks regularly, between 15 and 20% drink in excess, and it is estimated that between 5 and 10% are alcoholic patients. As is well known, alcoholism consumes the family budget, traumatizes children, breeds mental disorders. In addition to other social disturbances such as car accidents, alcohol is present in almost 65% of traffic accidents, an increase in crime. There are those who prefer addiction to psychoactive pills, in the form of anxiolytics or antidepressants. For example, in the United States, 5.8% of the population uses benzodiazepines, one of the best-known anxiolytic drugs. Meanwhile, in Australia, the con had 10.6%. In other countries, such as Argentina, 15.5% of the general population consumes some type of psychoactive drug. Even 29.4% have consumed some psychotropic drug at some time in their life, that is, almost one person in three. Another form of addiction is related to new technologies, characterized by abusive consumption of the computer, internet, mobile, video games, and social networks. The addictions can affect all ages, but they tend to occur mainly in young people and adolescents. The use of the internet allows them to communicate with other people anonymously, talk about issues that would be difficult for them face to face, express emotions, communicate virtually with people you don't know, or keep in touch with friends you couldn't otherwise. Internet addiction can be defined as an abusive use of new technologies that affects all areas of the subject's life. The WHO, World Health Organization, points out that 1 in 4 people suffer from disorders related to new addictions. A common and central characteristic of addictive behaviors is the loss of control. The person with an addictive behavior has no control over that behavior, in addition to the fact that it produces dependency, tolerance, withdrawal syndrome, and a very important negative impact on his life, which in many cases will be the cause of his going to seek treatment or are forced to seek it. The biggest problem with addictions is not only the effects that they produce in the short term. The problem is in the effects they produce in the medium and long term. Thus, many cigarette smokers will die years after continuous smoking from lung cancer or cardiovascular disease. Many heavy drinkers of alcohol or people with alcohol dependence will die of liver disease or accidents. Many people dependent on heroin or cocaine will die from diseases caused by them, as has happened and is happening with AIDS, hepatitis, infections, etc. Apart from the social problems that they cause in the form of robbery, extortion, problems legal, family, etc. The same can be said of other addictions, where in many cases economic ruin is a step prior to the rest of the legal, family, physical, etc. Problems. At present, the use of fentanyl has skyrocketed. This strong synthetic opioid pain reliever, similar to morphine but 50 to 100 times more powerful, is being illegally manufactured and distributed as a street drug. The lethal dose is 2 milligrams. An injection prescribed by a doctor contains 0.25 milligrams, not even a milligram. If a person exceeds 2 milligrams, it would be a lethal dose, equivalent to 8 injections. This new drug is among the strongest in the world and is a contributing factor in fatal overdoses in the United States. 1 kilogram contains around 20,000 capsules, making it the most profitable drug for drug traffickers. Being addiction a disease, not an effective character, there are many ways to treat it, on the way to rehabilitation. It all starts with becoming aware of our disease and seeking effective help. Remember that the size of the solution must not be larger or smaller than the size of the problem.